All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal December the 5th, 7:09 on the West Coast, 9 minutes after 10 on the East Coast. Welcome to the Krueg Show on YouTube, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue you're going to find. We're also brought to you by New York-style Italian sausage. The only kind of Italian sausage I will eat is New York-style Italian sausage. And you can find it in every grocery store in Northern California. We're also brought to you by Marin Auto Glass. Somebody shatters your windshield, you need a new one. MarinAutoGlass.com, 415-883-3030. Check out Marin Auto Glass. And then, of course, Mojo Fantasy and Underdog Fantasy. Big fans of both those guys. Check that link use the link in the description. Use the promo code Krueg, Krueg, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. And that's at mojofantasy.com as well as underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code Krueg. Otherwise, they won't match your first $100. All right, Raj from RSF 49ers is in the house. The Niners are feeling good. They beat Philly in Philly. The Seahawks are next. Raj, how are you, man? What'd you think of the win?
I'm happy as can be, man. Are you kidding me? 49ers walked into the link. They got revenge. This was the game we had circled for months. We kept saying the team kept saying if they had Brock Purdy, they were going to win this game, and they'd win by double digits. Debo said this, he said that. And they all took care of business. And like the young kids say, they stood on business. Debo Samuel and the 49ers walked out, making everybody realize that this team is the best team in the NFL. So absolutely, I am feeling tremendous, Larry. So good.
Seriously, there's it was a great game to watch. It was an amazing game. Why don't we start on the Eagles? Because since the loss, they have been absolutely reeling. David Carr went on the NFL Network and said that they ought to bench Jalen Hurts for Marcus Mariota. Seth Joyner, the former Eagle great, took to the airwaves and started battling back and forth with some of the Eagles players because Seth Joyner said the Eagles tackling in the secondary was terrible. The Eagles have also since signed Shaq Leonard. And there's a lot of people saying that they need to go find new players to compete with the 49ers. What do you think of what's going on in Philadelphia? Obviously, anytime you lose a game of this magnitude, when you're riding as high as the Eagles were at 10-1, that there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of self-reflection and a lot of kind of looking internally. What do you think? Are the Eagles gonna circle the wagons off that loss, or are they gonna start circling the drain and lose this week to Dallas and really start to feel the heat?
I feel like this is a game that really exposed them, for lack of a better word. It showed the world, like, hey, this is how you beat them. I mean, there was a point where the 49ers stopped the tush push. Like, I know they still got it on the next play, but the physicality. A.J. Brown was locked up. Devontae Smith didn't have a big game. Jalen Hurts didn't have a monster game. They opened, they closed the lanes, his running lanes, and, they took him out. It was one of those games where it was just like, holy smokes. The 49ers walked in and they demoralized this team. I think, they had to sign a player after they lost because they realized they couldn't tackle. They needed a linebacker. Their linebacker corps was absolutely terrible, against the 49ers, and they were reeling. And the last time they struggled, they went and signed a safety, Byard, after they struggled against Washington. So this tells me that, the Eagles know that in order to compete with the 49ers, who are the best team in the NFL, and they're going to probably face them later down the line, they need to make sure that they can keep up with the 49ers. So that to me was a move that says, man, we got to make sure that the next time we play them, this doesn't happen to again. So they definitely have the edge. They're a game up on, everybody in the NFC, but Dallas, man, I think they may have been looking ahead, and now they have this game where if they don't win, things can start to get a little dicey because every team faces adversity, Larry. The 49ers went on their 3-game losing streak, and everybody thought it was dire straits, end of the world. Now the Eagles are starting to kind of maybe second-guess themselves, and if they have a little bit of a losing streak at this point of the season, it's going to benefit the 49ers. So if you really look at it, that losing streak that the 49ers took early in the season was the best thing that could have happened because it woke up the Giant. They went and got Chase Young. They put sideline Steve down on the sidelines. And this, defenses made all the adjustments. They took Ambry Thomas, put him in. Isaiah Oliver's out. The 49ers are in the right place at the right time. And the Eagles, they look like they're kind of on the brink.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, I don't agree at all with David Carr that they ought to bench Hurts. I
Yeah,
mean, what really?
that's
That's what you took away from this last game is they need to bench Jalen Hurts. What? I mean, seriously, David Carr, very questionable angle on that. But I will say this. I mean, I think you're right, Raj. They were exposed in that they don't tackle well in the secondary. They're missing CJ Gardner Johnson in the worst way. And they didn't replace him. I mean, they had Avonte Maddox at the nickel spot that he got hurt. Then they have Bradley Roby there. They've got some young players in the secondary that they can't quite lean on, right? Sidney Brown, Kingo, or Kaylee Ringo, Eli Ricks. They can't really depend on those guys. And then they've got some veterans that are kind of towards the back end, guys like Darius Slay and Bradbury and Kevin Byard, and they're veterans. Then they've got some just kind of middle of the road guys. I mean, Reed Blankenship, Bradley Roby. These are guys that are just kind of hanging on. And then if you watch the way their linebackers looked without Zach Cunningham, I mean, Nicholas Morrow is still getting burned as we speak. I mean, he's just like, that guy's just like absolutely got toasted. Shanahan made him the conflict defender, and the Niners piled up all kinds of yards on Nicholas Morrow. So, I mean, I think they were exposed in that I don't think their linebackers are good enough. They miss that enforcer in the middle of the field. The Niners just absolutely owned the middle of the field against them. I mean, you name it, all the Niner receivers are just running across the middle with total confidence. Now, the Eagles still have a great kicker. I'll tell you the other thing I thought was a really quiet part of this game. If you watched the Jalen Carter highlight reel this year, he has looked freaking amazing. Like, he might be the best defensive tackle in the entire game, Chris Jones included, based on the way he's played at times his rookie year. But the Niners sure neutralized him. Did you remember Jalen Carter's name being called very often on Sunday?
The one time I noticed his names is when at the end when he was crying to the coach. He got, people were mocking him all over social media. I don't know if you saw it, but there's a video where he's crying to Sirianni. And after the game, he went on social media and he's like, I don't care if I cry at this game. I'd rather be crying than being broke or something, like crying about losing than crying being broke. He got neutralized. The 49ers did a good job of neutralizing that defensive line. Hassan Reddick, he was nowhere to be found. The 49ers they beat him. They bullied him. Trent Williams, this offensive line, Colton McKivitz, everybody just did their job, and they could not get past the big linemen of the 49ers. And everybody talks about how great, the Eagles linemen are and how good, Hassan Reddick and all these guys and their offensive line. It didn't look like they were the better team. It didn't look like they were the better, team in the trenches, because one thing we talked about all week leading up to this game was it was going to be a battle of the trenches. Whoever wins that battle wins this game. And 49ers won that battle. I think the 49ers, I saw a stat, they had 46 pressures on the Eagles. That's crazy.
46 pressures.
46, man. They dominated the trenches. Bottom line, I heard nothing about Jalen Carter other than the fact that he was crying at the end of the game. That's it.
What was the biggest surprise to you? Good, bad, Niners, Eagles, either direction. Just if I just said to you the surprising aspect of the Niners 42-19 win over Philly.
The surprising thing, it was easy. It looked like it was easy after the first quarter where, they pretty much, they struggled a little bit. They had a 6-point, lead, and the Niners had negative 6 yards. To me, the adjustments they made were incredible, Larry. Like, I was like, wow. After that, they didn't look back, and they just shut them down. I thought it was going to be more competitive. Thought it was going to be closer, but the Eagles just had no answer for the 49ers over the middle. Deebo Samuel. And just when you thought they were going to have a little bit of momentum, the 49ers just kept pushing. And the other really big takeaway that I loved at this game was how aggressive Kyle Shanahan was. Like, he usually plays safe, a little conservative. He plays not to lose. No, he was aggressive. He put the pedal down to the metal, and he kept on trying to score 6 unanswered touchdowns. Like, that was crazy. That was it to me, is the fact that the 49ers were so aggressive, and they just made the game look easy. After that first quarter, they felt comfortable. They made the adjustments. They didn't look back. I thought it was going to be so much more. What's the word? I thought it was going to be a close game, Larry. I really did.
I did too. I did too. I thought the Eagles, there were people that were hinting at a blowout. Dante Whitner suggested it could be a blowout. Dave Lombardi suggested it could be a blowout. I never allowed myself to think like that. I just kept thinking that this was going to be an absolute war, and it wasn't. But if you said to me the biggest surprise is that the Niners got 3 sacks, and Bosa, Chase Young, Hargrave got none, and Kalia Davis and Javon Kinlaw combined for 3.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a shocker. That was a shocker. Now, granted, one time Hurts just kind of fell at the feet of Kinlaw, and he got the sack just because he tagged off on him. But still, I mean, Kalia Davis and Kinlaw, 2 interior players, combined for 3 sacks, and everybody else got none.
Yeah, that was amazing. Like, Javon Kinlaw coming out, having a great day, like the best game of his career. First sack since 2020. Kalia Davis, like, these 49ers just came out and, again, they imposed their will. You know, you would think Chase Young, Nick Bosa were the ones that would get the sacks, and to see those guys get the numbers was great. It just shows you, though, that how much pressure, like you said, 46 pressures, the fact that everybody was getting back there, someone was getting to Jalen Hurts, and it was making him throw, uncharacteristic passes that he normally doesn't have. He didn't have the time he normally has, and they were closing out lanes. And the other big thing is, I'm so happy that the 49ers secondary has kind of solidified itself. Like, look how good, Mooney was
Ambry,
the
yeah.
last couple weeks.
Mooney, Ambry,
And
yeah.
Diamador Lenore. This man looked like Deshaun Golson out there, Larry. I mean, hit stick, hit stick, hit stick. This guy was just dominating people. He had a big hit on A.J. Brown, too, early in the game. This 49ers secondary is showing what they can actually do when they have time, to cover and be aggressive with the offensive or defensive line, getting the pressure. This secondary has been incredible over the last couple of weeks. Steve Wilks, he's a DB guy, he's a DB coach, and now we're seeing what his defense can be when it's at its full peak. So I'm impressed with this secondary. I'm really impressed with how Steve Wilks has really made the adjustments over the last couple of weeks. Weeks ago, people were sitting here calling for his name, fire him, get rid of him. Can Salah come back? Can they get a better defense coordinator? He looks like the best defensive coordinator in the NFL right now. It's incredible, Larry.
Well, I'll tell you, the other thing that was a surprise to me, Raj, was that the Niners, I felt like, won on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Last year in the matchup, Eagles ran, for almost 150 yards, and the Eagles piled up a bunch of sacks and knocked out a couple quarterbacks and just made a huge impact. This time, the 49ers held Philly to 2.6 yards per carry. The Niners' offensive line opened up run lanes to the tune of the Niners ran for 150 yards and 5.2 a carry. And then hits on the quarterback. I mean, the Eagles last year were a monster. They had 70 sacks and all kinds of hits on the quarterback. They had 3 hits on Brock Purdy. The Niners had 9 hits on Jalen Hurts. They had 3 times as many quarterback hits, and they ran the ball effectively, and they stopped the run. Last year, they couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't run the ball, and they couldn't block this front. Now, their front couldn't be blocked, and the Niners were the ones who ran the ball and stopped the run. So just the fact that the Niners got it done at the line of scrimmage was absolutely incredible to watch, and the whole thing was just stunning to watch. It was it was much easier than I thought it was going to be. Maybe it looked that way. Maybe the Niners made it look easy, but it just seemed much, much easier. All right, let's talk a little bit about Debo. He was incredible. He was on television today, or maybe yesterday, with Kay Adams. And here's what he had to say about Brock Purdy being the MVP of the NFL. Here it is.
Where's Brock in your personal MVP conversation?
Man, my boy number 1 right now. It ain't up for debate.
I mean, there's a lot of Tyshawn goes, yeah, oh yeah, that's the one. Well, can I hear the argument for Brock? What's the case for Brock to be the MVP?
You just got to keep stacking games, stacking days, stacking weeks. So we got to go out here and continue to make plays for him, and I think he'll get the job done for us in the MVP conversation. But I don't think that's his ideal goal of for us, something that he really, really want to accomplish right now. I think at the end of the day, as a whole, as a group, as a team, we want to be standing there at the end of the year holding the Lombardi Trophy.
There you go. What do you think, Raj? I mean, is Brock the MVP of the NFL? I know there's a lot of people who are like, what? Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. But if you look at the numbers say that he should be the MVP. I mean, that the numbers are there. I mean, they really are. He leads the NFL in yards per attempt. So he's driving the ball down the field. And then he's also leading the NFL in completion percentage. So this idea that he's like some guy who lives underneath, he doesn't live underneath. He's driving the ball further down the field than any other quarterback in football, and he's completing the highest percentage while doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. Of the 10 quarterbacks who have thrown at least 20 touchdowns, Purdy has the second fewest interceptions of the group. He also leads the NFL in passer rating, throws that result in a first down. He's tied for the most passes of 40-plus yards, so he's absolutely taking shots. He's the betting favorite as of yesterday morning to win the MVP. He jumped over Hurts and Prescott, and why shouldn't he? He hung 40 on both those guys' teams head-to-head and won convincingly. But, I mean, I've heard people suggest that if Brock Purdy wins the MVP, it's somehow some kind of a blight on the NFL. He's the leader in EPA. Purdy leads the NFL in EPA per play at 0.38. Dak Prescott's in second at 0.26. Wow. That's a huge, huge gap. Is Purdy the MVP?
Absolutely. This is what I said all week, and I'm sure Debo would say that because he got him the ball a lot this week. But even still, I think, like you said, all the rankings, we said passer rating, completion percentage, touchdowns to attempts, yards to attempt, yards per completion. Like, he's number one in all those and then some. And, you have the critics that say, oh, well, if he's out there, he's just delivering the ball to his weapons and they go do all the work. Like, it's not easy just to get the ball to those guys. He's throwing with anticipation. Like, he's floating the passes. He's putting it where they need to be. That offense is tough. And again, what I've always said, you have to be a good, like a point guard, facilitate the ball everywhere, like a Magic Johnson type guy. And he's doing it. He's getting the ball to his playmakers. And luckily for the 49ers, they're great playmakers. You get it to them in space and they're going to do what they got to do. Debo, Kittle, and all those guys. Everybody sits here and says, well, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have any receivers, this and that. But now imagine if he had receivers, people would say, oh, see, he's the greatest person on earth because look what he does. But it's a different argument. Brock Purdy, he has too many weapons. It's like he's almost penalized for having a good team. But if you're a football team, it's what you want to do is have a good team. You draft players that are good football players. That's the whole point, is put good players on your roster. So he's doing what he has to do. And the 49ers have had many quarterbacks with this system, with Kyle Shanahan, and none of them could do what Brock Purdy's doing. He's going out there, he's putting the ball where it needs to be. And there was another stat this week where, again, if you really look at everybody that says, oh, he's just throwing it to his playmakers, he's not doing it, under pressure. He was blitzed 10 times. He was 10 for 10, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns, a perfect passer rating. He had a perfect passer rating in a whole game a couple weeks ago. Like, he's putting it where it needs to be. He's getting rid of the ball fast. Sometimes he can't throw it fast because he's or deep because he's getting pressured. So, yeah, he has to throw it to those guys 5 yards down the field. And it's the defense's fault. If you can't tackle Deebo Samuel after 5 yards, if you can't tackle George Kittle, that's your own damn defense's fault because they're there that you can tackle them. If he's only throwing a 5-yard pass, why can't you stop it from going 10, 20, 30 yards? That's the defense that needs to figure out how to tackle. The Eagles, they figured out they couldn't tackle, so they went and signed a new linebacker. So Brock Purdy, hands down, is the MVP. And what I said last week is he needs to have a statement game and he did it. He walked into the link, the game where he was knocked out, and we lost the NFC Championship game. He walked in there. He left with 4 touchdowns, outplayed Jalen Hurts, no interceptions, and he walked out having his name chanted out of the stadium. That absolutely is an MVP performance. If that's not an MVP performance to me, I don't know what is, Larry.
So well said. So well said. I want to go back to the stat that you just cited. I mean, think about this. There is no more adversity than playing on the road in December in Philly against a team that's 10-1 that ended your career almost last game, ended your season, tore your elbow off. And he, in that game, rolls in there, throws for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. But you said it, Raj, against the blitz, 10 for 10 for 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 158.3 passer rating. 10 for 10 against the blitz. We're talking about a quarterback in Brock Purdy that's on pace for 4,500 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 9 picks. He's got a 135.8 passer rating on throws that are 10-plus yards down the field. That is first among all quarterbacks. The Niner offense exploded on the road. They were minus 6 yards at the end of the first quarter. They piled up 456 with Brock driving the train. And the top 8 passer rating games this season, Purdy has number 1 of the top 7. He's got 1, 5, 6, and 7. He has 4 of the 7 best passer rating games in the league this year. I'm going to say it. I'll say it. It's like I thought this guy was good back way back, but I'll say it right now. This guy's great. Forget good enough. This guy's great. I think it's time we change the narrative on Brock Purdy from, is he this? Is he that? Is he this? Is he that? To this guy's freaking great. I mean, he's not Jimmy Garoppolo. He's worlds better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Worlds better than Jimmy Garoppolo. This is the best 49er quarterback since Steve Young. This guy's better than Garoppolo, better than Kaepernick. Love Jeff Garcia, better than Garcia. This is the best Niner quarterback since 1994 when Mike Shanahan was the offensive coordinator and the Niners beat the Chargers in the Super Bowl. This is their best quarterback since. This guy is freaking great. Not good, not pretty good. This guy is great.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't look the way some people want him to look. Ain't my problem. This guy is great. All these people talking about, oh, you know what? I guess that 3-game stretch where he threw a couple picks, yeah, that showed that training camp pass interceptions mean something. You're an idiot. It means nothing. This guy is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, people think he's not what he needs. He's not an MVP. People are still hung up on his draft status. Like, people are still, doubting the guy because of where he was drafted in the NFL, the number, last pick of the draft. They need to get over it. Like, he's putting the work in, just like you said, and they need to get over it. Like, he's beaten Dak Prescott head to head. He's beaten Jalen Hurts head to head. Those are guys that are supposed to be MVP candidates, and he's looked better than them. He's played better than them. Although Dak's really had a hot streak lately, we'll see how he does this weekend against Philly. But ultimately, Dak beat them both, head to head. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks. They play the Ravens. Lamar Jackson's another MVP candidate. That's the guy that, is going to go head to head with Brock Purdy and the Niners. So honestly, Brock Purdy's beating every single top quarterback that he's faced. And, I get it. He had the 3-game slide, but every team goes through adversity. The Cowboys, they were looking like absolute, trash a couple weeks ago. The Niners handed him a huge loss, and people were questioning Dak Prescott a couple weeks ago. And then, of course, he goes on a run. Now Jalen Hurts, like you said, people are saying he should maybe be benched for Mariota. Like, there's questions about every quarterback. Josh Allen, he gets questioned every week. Last night Patrick Mahomes walked into Lambeau and he lost to Jordan Love in the Packers. Like, there's questions about every single quarterback. And you know what? Brock Purdy, he's not like anybody else. Everybody's going to have questions about him, but he's delivering, and he bounced back after, those tough games. And he had a concussion, whether that impacted him or not. It is what it is. But the 49ers are winning, and they're seeing a quarterback do things that they have not seen in a very long time. He's going to be the first 49er quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards since like 2000. Jeff Garcia was the last guy to do it.
The guy's great. The guy is absolutely great. He makes play after play after play. If you don't believe me and you need more of a clinical evaluation, go watch the JT O'Sullivan quarterback school evaluation of Brock this week. And he uses words like surgical. He's surgical in his precision in the short game, in the intermediate game. In that 8 yards to 25-yard window, this guy is just putting out dime after dime after dime. It's impressive. It's absolutely impressive. Clarsard says Brock is a Pro Bowl lock. A Pro Bowl. I mean, heck, didn't Tyler Huntley, I think, might have played in the Pro Bowl last year. We got this one from 49er Throwback. Everyone thought Brock would regress and that he's dink and dunk. What happened? Y'all look stupid. Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, think about it. If you were truly all in on Team Trey, you were in on a guy who was a third string, who is currently a third string quarterback that you were demanding play over a guy who's going to win the MVP potentially. Think about that. That's hard to come back from. If everybody and your brother knows that you were like, hey, it's got to be Trey. It's got to be Trey. Trey's a third string quarterback in Dallas, and you prefer to play him over a guy who maybe is going to win the MVP. That's a hit to your football credibility right there. I don't care who said it or what they said. I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean, look at that. Look at how close people thought that was. Oh, at worst, they should share time. One guy's a third string quarterback on his second franchise. The other guy is potentially going to win the MVP. Roger Gill says, Larry, why calling Grant an idiot? I'm not calling Grant an idiot. I'm saying that if you think that what happens in a practice has a lot to do with what happens in games, you're not seeing it the way you should see it. I'm not calling him an idiot. I love Grant. Grant helped me when nobody else would. I get great respect for Grant. We don't always agree. We don't agree on this quarterback. I see greatness and have for a long time. I've been advocating for this guy for 2 years. I said last February that, you know what? The Niners are going to trade Trey Lance and they're going to recommit to Brock Purdy. And I got called everything. Every possible heinous name you could think of. Yeah, I got called that for 2.5 months. And then it was like, well, you said he was going to be traded by the draft. I said he was going to be traded. And then they were moving on from Trey. And it was clear that day. And they wanted to trade him during the draft. They just couldn't find their price. They didn't get their price. If they had gotten a better offer on draft day, Trey would have been traded on draft day. Instead, they hedged, they waited, and they traded him later. But, I mean, wow. Hike the like button. Let's go. Yeah. If you haven't already hit like and subscribe, please hit like and subscribe. Once again, we're brought to you by New York Style Italian Sausage, Marin Auto Glass, and Pig in a Pickle, not to mention Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy as well. CJ Gray. Larry, say that. Then have Grant on, LOL. I have Grant on every week. We just talked to him yesterday. We don't try to work on a consensus. We don't agree. I think this quarterback is great. And I've been saying it for a long time. This quarterback is great. But now it's time to just shout it at the mountaintop. Jimbo says Larry loves Grant. I do. I absolutely do. I got more respect for Grant than I got for almost anybody in Bay Area media. We just don't agree. we don't agree on this quarterback right now. I personally see a quarterback that has enough arm strength and has all these special traits of accuracy and intelligence, and I see a truly outstanding player. Now, I'll let me backtrack a little bit because I don't want to be I told you so to this degree. I didn't see the guy winning the MVP. Right? Raj, you and I have been streaming for years here. I've no point said, hey, this guy's going to win the MVP.
Yeah.
That to me is just, that kind of blows my mind that that's where he's at. But this idea that he couldn't get better after year one was also lunacy.
Yeah, exactly. That was the biggest thing is I thought he'd get better. He's 23. He's a young quarterback. He could only improve. My thing was, okay, let's just make sure the elbow's okay. Is he going to be able to get back into shape and form? But I felt like he did better. But nobody saw this coming. Like the fact that he's leading the NFL in every top category. He's top in the MVP, odds right now. It's crazy. And again, people can sit here and say, it's a system, whatever the case is. Like I saw a thread today on Twitter that, people are like, oh, if you had Johnny Manziel, if you had this quarterback, you insert X quarterback into this lineup, they'd be MVP candidate. And it's crazy. Someone said Mac Jones, like there's no way any of these quarterbacks can do what Brock Purdy's doing. Like if you actually watch the 22 film on this guy, he's doing things that are absolutely amazing. Just fitting the ball into very sharp, tight windows, and the anticipation throws where he threw it into 4 defenders a couple weeks ago, right? Like he is just doing things at a very, very amazing level for a 23-year-old guy that was the last pick in the draft, who everybody says, well, whatever, he's not that great in arm talent. He makes big throws. Like there was the pass to CMC this week, like floated it up to him, anticipation. He's thrown the 76-yarder to Ayuk. He threw the 66-yarder to Kittle. Like he throws deep when they need to. It's just they don't always need to because their offense is so different in terms of motion, getting the ball to CMC, getting the short passes to Kittle and everything to set up those big passes. And when they have you on the brink, they go over the top. That's the one thing they were missing with Jimmy. Every time they tried to throw deep, Larry, they could not connect. And I was so sick to my stomach every time I saw this man miss a deep pass. Purdy's money on those passes.
Jimmy is what people say of Purdy. What people say of Purdy, he's a product of Shanahan. No, Garoppolo was a product of Shanahan.
Absolutely.
Oh, he's dink and dunk. He can only operate underneath. No, Garoppolo is dink and dunk and cannot only operate underneath. Almost everything that gets attributed to Brock really is a truism about Jimmy Garoppolo. I was sitting in the press box on the Miami game last year in week 13, and Caleb Homeras from the Niners was sitting right next to me, and Ryan Smith was there as well. And Garoppolo goes down. And Caleb, who I've been talking up Purdy to literally all since camp, was like, hey, Krug, your boy's in. And I looked down and I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they're carting Garoppolo back to the locker room. I'm like, oh, really? And I said, right then and there, I said, well, the 49ers just got appreciably better at quarterback. And there was like 5 people in the first row in the press box that shot me a glance over their shoulder like, are you freaking crazy? We just lost Jimmy Garoppolo, and we're bringing in a guy that none of us have ever even heard of, and you're saying he's better? But he was better, and he is better. And it was obvious to me well before that Miami game that he was way better.
Yeah.
But I'd watched him every day in practice. I've been watching these guys every day. That's the one advantage I had. Is I was at practice. I was at practice in all of May, all of June, all of July when camp started. I was at every practice. Well, you see every practice, you start to see it a little bit differently, possibly. But yeah, Brock Purdy today is the favorite to win the MVP, and I don't know if he's going to win it, but I think it's time for all of us to just acknowledge that any of the naysayers are crazy, and if you don't like Brock right now, it probably says more about you than him. And this guy's great, and he is a truly great player, and the Niners are blessed to have this guy. And I love that I asked him the question that people were asking me last week, saying that, Brock's the weak link. They're not Brock Purdy ain't rolling into Philly and this and all this garbage. And so I said to him, I said, Brock, they think you're the weak link. And he's like, really? Hadn't heard that before. But he took note of it. And then he goes in there and throws 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, and just absolute played with incredible poise and took the game. Just took it over.
Yeah.
An amazing thing. All right. We have news today in Niner land. Let's hit that. The Niners cut Ty Davis Price and signed Logan Ryan. Raj, give me your assessment of this. I mean, obviously they needed to, to add a defensive back, but man, I'm looking at that 2022 draft. It was Drake Jackson in round 2, Ty Davis Price in round 3.
Yeah.
Danny Gray in round 3. He's still on the team. Spencer Burford in round 4. He started at right guard. Samuel Womack in round 5. He's still there. Got a lot of potential. Nick Sikel in round 6. He's on the IR, done for the year. Kalia Davis in round 6. He just got his first sack of his career. Tariq Castro-Fields was cut. He's no longer there. And pick number 262 in round 7, Brock Purdy. I mean, that draft you'd give an A to, and yet look at those. The Niners had 1, 2, 3 picks in the first 3 rounds, and right now they've got Danny Gray, Ty Davis Price, and Drake Jackson out of those 3 picks. Wow. Give me your assessment of the news of the day that Ty Davis Price is gone. Does it surprise you at all?
Yeah, so I mean, based off that, honestly, if Brock Purdy hadn't been drafted and panned out the way he has, it's probably one of the worst drafts I've seen in a long time. I mean, Kalia Davis is finally starting to roll around. I like Womack's potential, but they're still developing. They're still learning. But those first 3 picks, Drake Jackson, he hasn't lived up to his second-round billing. He got injured. Ty Davis Price, man, this is just another third-round running back that Kyle Shanahan drafted and overvalued. He does better in drafting running backs in the 7th round and undrafted. He gets these undrafted gems. We've seen many, many, many times. JaMychal Hasty, Matt Breida. We've seen Elijah Mitchell. All these guys, Raheem Mostert, all these guys that come out of nowhere pretty much. Jeff Wilson Jr., all those guys were so much better than the third-round guys that they had. It's unfortunate for TDP because it was a position where, honestly, if you're going to cut someone, you can cut a running back because you have CMC. He's an MVP candidate. Elijah Mitchell's been solid when he's in, and Jordan Mason's been solid when he's in. So really, TDP was the low man on the totem pole. It's unfortunate for him, but the release makes sense because he's not going to sit there and see the field. He's been a inactive player for the last several weeks. He's been, relegating to basically going to practice and not even seeing the field. It's unfortunate for the guy. He has talent, but the 49ers have really good running backs, and CMC's too good. You're not going to take anybody's spot, in this running back field where it's set. Kyle's really stubborn about his running backs, and I like the move. Logan Ryan, he's a solid veteran. He's not going to be an elite guy, in any sense of the word, but he's a good veteran. Jair Brown is a young safety. He's being molded because he's the future of this team. Obviously, Hufanga and Odom are injured, and they'll come in, when they need to come back, they'll be, healthy and everything. But Jair Brown has got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and to flank him with Gibson and Logan Ryan in the locker room, 2 really good veterans, 2 guys that have been in the league for over 10 years each. Logan Ryan's a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, a guy that Belichick loved. I like it. Again, he's not going to come in and have to be an elite starter. He can start in a pinch. He can play special teams. He's going to be good quality depth. And at this point in the season, it's really hard to get solid, contributions from anybody in free agency. So I thought it was a good signing. And it did make sense to me that they had to get rid of a running back. And again, TDP, low man on the totem pole. But moving forward, Kyle Shanahan better not draft any running backs in the 3rd round, or I'm going to be sick to my stomach, Larry.
Seriously. Yeah. I mean, there's some good running backs in this draft. I like Blake Corum from Michigan. I like the kid Estime from Notre Dame quite a bit. They're like, 3rd, 4th round guys. But man, wait till the end. Wait till the end. Go get Ulysses Bentley or somebody like that out of Ole Miss, or there's a bunch of good running backs that will be involved, around late. No more 3rd round backs. I agree. I mean, it's their track record is terrible. They have now, Mason's a hell of a back. He can't even get on the field. I think Ty Davis Price had a good camp, but it's like he just can't get on the field, and it's unfortunate that they had to cut him loose. But he's got good power. He runs with good power. He's got decent speed. I wouldn't be surprised if he does something else elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, it's they needed another veteran defensive back, and when anybody went out this week, Isaiah Oliver was the player that came on the field, and maybe Logan Ryan now jumps ahead of Isaiah Oliver. He's got experience on special teams. He can play corner. He can play safety. He's versatile. It also could be a sign that Eric Harris, who they just signed, maybe is not up to the task. He played 14 plays on special teams this last week. And maybe they're looking for somebody who could fill George Odom's shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, you can never have enough really veteran, solid defensive backs if you're making a run for a Super Bowl title. And it's unfortunate that Ty Davis Price had to be cut loose because I think he's got some talent, but Logan Ryan clearly will help the 49ers. How confident are you that the Niners are going to get that number 1 seed?
I'm starting to become very confident. I know if Philadelphia loses to the Cowboys this weekend, Larry, I don't think the 49ers are losing a game the rest of the season. They're gonna
run the table.
The Niners
are going to run the table.
They'll beat the Ravens. The Ravens is the hardest matchup they got. It's a good matchup. It's a tough one, but it's in Levi Stadium, and I think the edge will be with the Niners because that crowd's going to be rocking. It's Christmas. They're not losing in front of the fans in Christmas. It'd be a very disappointing Christmas. I think they're going to have a lot of energy.
So what's left? It's Seattle at home this week. Then it's at Cardinals, which will be almost like a home game. Then it's home against Ravens on Christmas night on ABC national TV.
Yeah.
Best running game in the game. Then they play at the Commanders, and they finish with the Rams on January the 7th.
Yeah.
And they play the Commanders on New Year's Eve day.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve day. It's going to be an early morning, 10 a.m. West Coast start on Fox in the early window, Niners Commanders. So you think the Niners are going to run the table. So basically you're saying if Dallas gets the win, you think the Niners are the road to the Super Bowl is going through Levi's.
If Dallas beats the Eagles, they're not losing a game, and they already beat Philly. They already beat Dallas. They got the number 1 seed locked up. They're not losing a game, Larry. So I'm very confident. But it all depends on if Dallas can beat Philly this week. And if Dallas doesn't beat Philly, I don't know if Philly's losing another game.
Number 1 weakness for the 49ers post-Eagles that you see? If you said right now, what's the biggest concern, the biggest weakness that the Niners have as a football team?
It's hard to point at a weakness after that game. They look dominating. I guess safety maybe still is the key. I know Hufunga's out, so they have the rookie Jair Brown. At some point, teams are going to try to find a way to pick on him. He's handled his business. He's really stood his ground. But I mean, the cornerbacks are good. I feel like maybe that's their only weakness is safety. Linebacker depth is amazing. The offensive line, honestly, has played so good. I was so impressed by how this offensive line played against the Philadelphia Eagles. So maybe outside of safety, still have an O-line issue because I don't know how much you can trust a guy like Colton McKivitz and, that O-line down the stretch. But they had a heck of a game against Hassan Reddick and everybody. So really, it's hard to really find a hole, Larry. They looked absolutely.
I was going to say right guard. Right guard, maybe. Were you surprised Feliciano didn't get any snaps?
Yeah, I was. I thought the plan was for him to kind of take over Burford there, but so Burford must be really working his butt off in practice because that was a spot that I was like, okay, maybe they're going to split. Maybe Feliciano's going to steal it because he played good. But shout out to Burford. He's really stepped up his game since Feliciano has been in the lineup. I think Burford was like, okay, this guy's breathing down my neck. I need to step up. He played good.
Lo Jackson asks, where'd you get that hoodie from?
Oh, we got this from Fresh Society out there at the mall there, down in Oak Ridge Mall. Fresh Society. It's a pretty cool shop out here.
Let me see those arm patches.
So we got the little 49ers. It's got the 49ers arm patch here embroidered.
That's nice.
NFC patch here, and then the huge Bloom logo right there, the SF logo.
Look at that. Look at that. And that hat's also got some you got some pins on that
Yeah,
hat.
flagged that. We got the residency hat. We got the Tommy Nello. He's got all types of pins. The newest one was this pin, the Brocky Balboa after beating the Eagles. So all types of pins, man.
Whose number is that? Does it say 49?
It just says 49 because you know how the Niners
team.
decorate the Rocky statue, so they put the 49 jersey on
Did
Rocky.
you see the fans run up there dancing around the statue? I love that video.
Yeah,
love that video.
Love that
My
shit.
favorite video, and I'm afraid to play it because I think we'll get monetized or whatever, demonetized. But the one where Brock runs off the field with the fans chanting Purdy, Purdy.
Great, man.
I mean, what a moment, man. I almost feel like I need to ask him this week about that.
Ask
about
him.
about that moment.
Please.
Running off the field and people, the Niner fans still there, packing the house in Philly, chanting Purdy, 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 and you're running off the field having beat the Eagles and throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, what does that feel like?
I need to know about that question because that was an incredible. I mean, if that's me, I just felt like on a super high, man. He looked. I mean, that was amazing, Larry. It was amazing.
Skipped off saying, "Let's effing go."
Oh yeah, that was amazing. I also
Great moment.
You to ask about Debo and you know how's he feeling after standing on business. That was an impressive game by Debo. Oh my God.
You know what I was really impressive too when you go through the JT O'Sullivan film.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many examples of awesome play design by Shanahan and then awesome selfless play from their stars. There was one on the touchdown to, I think, Jennings. CMC steps into the A gap and stonewalls the blitzer.
Yeah.
And the ball comes out. And out to Jennings. Jennings scores the touchdown. On the next play, I think it was CMC went into motion. CMC on the Debo tunnel screen. I don't know if you saw the all 22 on the Debo tunnel screen.
Yeah, I watched the.
Did you see this?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah.
So basically, on the Debo tunnel screen, it was a tunnel screen to the offensive left, but you had CMC offset to the right, and he faked like he was going to get the halfback toss. Purdy never faked the toss. It was just CMC putting his hand out saying, "Get me the ball." But him putting the hand out made Nicholas Morrow, I believe, take 3 false steps to his left. And then Debo on the tunnel screen gets it on the offensive left side and sprints diagonally across. And the linebacker would have had a shot at him, but he was just a step beyond because of the fake, because of the ball fake or the fake to the halfback toss to McCaffrey in the flat. I mean, it was an awesome sequence. All right. Do you look at Seattle as a trap game?
In a way, yes, because, you know, the 49ers are right in this high. And like I said, I think they're, in a way, feeling like they got this number 1 seed as long as Philly loses. But the 49ers have to handle their own business. They can't worry about other teams. So in a sense, yeah, because they already came off this huge win. They had this huge win against Seattle a couple weeks ago. So I feel like the 49ers could be looking ahead and trying to make sure that they're counting their reservations for the number 1 seed. So in a way, yeah, I know Seattle's tough. They're going to play them tough. It's a division game. Pete Carroll, you know, he don't mess around. He's going to make sure he makes the adjustments, and he's probably pissed off for losing that last game. They had a chance where they were kind of nipping away, and they came back. They had that pick 6, and I remember I was like, we're letting them hang around. But the 49ers found a way to, you know, get past those mistakes and turn it back up, and they were able to finish the game out strong. So I think that it could be, but I don't think the 49ers are going to lose this game. But I do think it's going to be a little bit more closer, contested than that Thursday night game, because that second half was pretty close until the 49ers were able to kind of get back on track. So I kind of see the game maybe being more competitive this time around. But, I mean, I could be totally wrong. The 49ers are on a heater right now.
No doubt. 2 last ones before we get you out of here. We'll hit the supers and we'll jet. Yeah. Team that you fear the most right now, standing between the Niners and the Super Bowl, now that they've vanquished the Eagles, they destroyed Dallas. They wiped out Seattle. Who do you fear most?
Honestly, the San Francisco 49ers, they're their own worst enemy. If they make mistakes, they're going to lose like they did those first, those 3 games where they lost. If they make mistakes and, they turn the ball over, or they make penalties, like those 3 games was not how the 49ers can play. That was uncharacteristic. Like that's the team I fear the most is the 49ers. And the other team I fear the most, an actual team, is the Ravens. Because if the 49ers do win this weekend and the Eagles do lose this weekend, and we have our own destiny to control, I think the Ravens are the only team left on the schedule that could beat us and really throw a wrench in the number 1 seed plans. But the 49ers proved they could walk into any stadium and win, Larry, this weekend after walking out of Lincoln Financial with the dub.
Jake Browning had a huge game. I guess I would say I fear the Bengals. If Jake Browning can somehow get the Bengals in the playoffs and Joe Burrow can get healthy by the end of the playoffs, I would fear the Bengals. I just think the Bengals, I know they were life and death to beat the Jaguars, but how about Jake Browning from Folsom, 354 yards and a touchdown? I mean, he did his best Brock Purdy impersonation last night for sure. Okay, how about the last one here? Steve Wilks. Since the bye week, the Niners have turned it up on D. Wilks is on the sideline. Oliver's on the bench. Ambry's in the lineup. Chase Young is now a Niner. What's been the key to the turnaround? Is it Wilks on the sideline? Is it the presence of Jair? Is it the presence of Chase? Is it changing out Oliver for Ambry? What do you think is the big difference in the Niner defense?
I think it's a combination of all of it. Obviously, Chase Young was a huge juice, a shot of adrenaline. He doesn't even have to get stats, and it makes a presence on the on the defensive line. Him and Bosa are playing really good off each other and getting to the quarterbacks at a high rate. So I think those 2 guys playing on the D line, making sure Armstead and Hargrave are also single covered on the line. It's helping. I think that has been a huge help. Chase Young was a master trade. Like I love John Lynch for making that move. He made sure the 49ers had an elite edge rusher on the opposite side of Bosa, something that me and you have been saying for months, and they finally did it. That was one. Steve Wilks coming to the sideline, I could tell the communications just so much more crisp. I know he's going to say that doesn't make a difference, but Fred Warner has said many times that the communication is so flawless now. I've seen many times, after, a touchdown or a big play, I see Steve Wilks on the sideline just hyped up, and I'm like, okay, you could tell he's feeling the energy for the players. I think that does make a big difference. When your general's on the field with you going to war, I think they respect them more. The adjustments that they've made after the bye week, moving Oliver to the bench was massive because this was Steve Wilks' guy, his touted free agent, and for him to say, hey, look, we got to move you for the better of the team, took a lot of that gets a lot of respect out of me, and it gave a lot of confidence for Ambry Thomas. It wasn't just okay, they placed Ambry Thomas in the lineup. They believed in him because this is a guy that was written off by every Niner fan out there, content creator, and he was placed in the lineup after the 49ers could have went and signed other cornerbacks, right? They had a chance to get Jalen Johnson and a lot of other players. They could have, but you know what they did? They said, nope, we're going to stick with this guy, Ambry, that is on our roster. That gave this young man so much confidence, and he's been a baller, Larry. This defensive secondary has been absolutely incredible. And moving Lenore into the slot, brilliant, because he's been so physical. He's like a physical guy, but he couldn't do it outside on the perimeter. He always got caught up. Now he can go out there, deliver the hit, and he's having fun doing it. So it's a combination of all those things, I think.
I'm going with Ambry. I really think that Shanahan made it perfectly clear. He's like, the answer to our cornerback problems lie inside this building.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his way of saying, hey, man, we got Womack, we got Luter, we got Ambry, we got guys that we like. To me, Ambry, putting Ambry on the field, putting Diamador inside, it made sure that the Niners were putting their best 3 corners on the field at one time. And I think that's it right there. I mean, I'm amazed by the turnaround as well. RG says amazing how Ambry turned it around. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, he's a great guy. I've interviewed him a couple times in the last few weeks, and he's a really religious guy. I mean, his faith is hugely important to him. I said, what do you do before the game? And he's like, I sit in my locker and I say prayers. I said,
Hello.
really? I go, you're not listening to music or having fun or, talking ball with your, guys, maybe a coach or, some of the veterans, Tayshawn. No, he's like, I like to stay quiet. I don't like to get too amped up. And my faith is very important to me. And I sit in my locker and I say some prayers, and it's like, you know what? And the guy is a really talented football player, and he's getting a second and third chance here, and he's not letting go of it. And it's been awesome to watch. All right, let's hit the supers, and then we'll bolt for the door. We got this one from Jalen LeGrant. I bet Big Dom sounds like Trent Baalke. I saw Lowry. I saw, that Dre Greenlaw character, and he was coming at me with his finger. And man, the way he hit my cheek, my jowls, they shook. And it came so close to my eye, Lowry. I'll tell you, this is Big Dom. And I hope I enjoyed my time on the sidelines, because chances are I'm asses out going forward. I'll tell you that much. There you go. There's my Big Dom.
That's a good one.
Jalen LeGrant. Eagles finally lose seed in the division in 2 weeks. Ooh, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? They lose to Dallas. We got this one from Randall. Montana needs to be stripped of his 1989 MVP. Laughing my ass off. Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, Brent Jones, top O-line, top defense were the reasons he won. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hey, Steve Young, you didn't deserve the MVP either. Why, Krug? You had Barnun and Waters and Jones and Taylor and Rice and a Pro Bowl offensive lineman and Dion and BY and Stubby and Woodall and Norton. Something tells me he'd be like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it up. Roberto Davis, Brock is going to bring home championship number 6.
I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
I feel it too. How great is that parade going to be? Elite Archer 23. Is the defense fast enough for Lamar? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. You know what?
They contain Jalen. If they could contain Jalen, they'll be able to contain Lamar. That was a huge test for them, and they held Jalen down, and I think that's going to bode well for them. Lamar
doesn't have his number one weapon. He lost Andrews. Andrews, that tight end there in Baltimore, was clearly Lamar's number one go-to guy. RG Teamster says Eagles can lose at Seattle too. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, don't discount that. That's a good point. RG Teamster says the Lenore hit reminds me so much of Deshaun Goldson. The Hawk! Dude, Lenore folded the running back.
Ate him up. Yeah.
Just sit down. And that was such a bitter pill too.
Bless Gesundheit.
Excuse me, but that was such a bitter pill to see. To see the running back just get destroyed.
Loved it. Are you kidding me? I loved it.
Oh my God, it was great. It was a great moment. Absolute great moment.
That was great.
3 last non-supers. We got this one, Francisco Lopez. How serious is the Armstead ailment? He's got plantar fasciitis and he's got a knee injury, but he says he's going to keep going. I don't know. Have you heard anything?
Kyle said we'll know more tomorrow. They're doing tests and stuff. Last week it was a foot. This week the knee issue popped up. So that's something to keep an eye on. We'll know more tomorrow when practice resumes.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Christine Workman dressed in black. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Niners did look really sharp.
They did. It was a funeral. The Trent Williams says we dressed up like it was their funeral. I was like, wow.
Dude, that was it was diabolical. How about them Niners? Says give me Brandon Rice in the 3rd round and Frank Gore Jr. and Brevin Span Ford in the 5th. Well, I don't know about Frank Gore Jr. and I don't know about Brevin Span Ford, but I'll tell you this: I have done the deep dive already on Brendan Rice, and he ain't Jerry, okay? Which is no, ain't no problem with not being Jerry, but that kid can absolutely play. And I would love to see the 49ers. I've done a bunch of mock drafts already in advance of April's draft, and I always make sure I pluck Brendan Rice in the 4th, 5th round in that range. He doesn't have the same. Well, he's actually kind of a big kid, and I think he's got good height, but he doesn't look like he's not linear like Jerry. He's a little thicker than Jerry. But what I love is the desire, the route running, the hands, all the little things. Brendan Rice is going to be a very good NFL wide receiver. Not decent, not pretty good. He's going to be a very good NFL wide receiver.
I hope so.
He's got that same I've got to have it. He plays with the urgency of his father, and he doesn't have the same foot speed. He doesn't have the same kind of long arms and build. He's a little I don't know how to describe him, but he's got good height and he's got good strength. But he's not quite as I don't think he's quite as fast as Jerry, regardless of what the 40 may say. And there's only one Jerry. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Jerry's Jerry. Totally different. But Brendan Rice is legit. And he absolutely, if I'm John Lynch, he absolutely is a 49er on draft day because he's a really good football player. You put him on this unit and you'll sit there in 3 years and go, man, thank God that they drafted Jerry. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people if they draft him be like, nepotism. No, this kid can flat out play. I've seen him at USC 5 different times this year. The ball skills are off the charts, the dedication, the hands, the route running. This is a very, very good wide receiver, and he's going to be a productive NFL wide receiver, and he's got to be a Niner somehow.
I want Frank Gore Jr. too, though. Like I
haven't seen tons of Frank Gore Jr.
Guy he looks like his dad. He runs like his dad. He's actually a little bit more versatile. Like he's thrown a touchdown pass before. He can catch. He is so good.
I'll study him.
Yeah, study him. He's got the work ethic of his dad. He looks and runs just like Frank Gore. And Frank Gore's in the front office now. You think he's not going to try to get Lynch to get this man? Frank Gore's going to say, John, draft my son. John, draft my son. John, draft my son. Every single day in draft meetings, I guarantee you he's going to make sure. If we get Brendan Rice and Frank Gore Jr. on the 49ers, I will do cartwheels. Come on, man.
That would be very, 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 very cool. All right, that's going to do it for us. Raj, what do you got cooking on your channel the rest of the week? It's a Tuesday night, so we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then game day at Levi's against the Seahawks and Pete Carroll. What do you got cooking on the channel?
Business as usual, man. We just keep pulling out the lives. We're going to keep putting the content out. Instagram as well. I'll be at the game Sunday, so I'll probably get a lot of good content from the game on the YouTube channel. Just rolling, man. We're trying to build a YouTube like we built the Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, we are closing in on 300K followers, Larry. 297. I can't believe it.
Dude, look at you. 297,000 subs or followers on the IG for Raj. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. As far as our own channel, we're sitting here. We passed 29,004. Oh, wait. We're at 29,000. We picked up almost 200 subs just this afternoon. We're at 29,527. Maybe we can get to 30,000 before the Seahawks game on Sunday. I was hoping to get to 30,000 by the end of the football season, but now I think we got to maybe push it out. Where do you think, Raj? I mean, we're at 29,527. It's December the 5th. If the Niners go to the Super Bowl, that's probably almost 2 months from right now. How high can I get the channel to?
If the 49ers make the Super Bowl, Larry, you're going to be sitting at 40K.
40K on Super Bowl Sunday.
40K.
Ooh, that would be sweet. 40K on Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah. All right, thanks to everybody. Thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Marin Auto Glass. Thanks to Mojo Fantasy and Underdog Fantasy. Raj, you're the man. Have a great Tuesday night. Hope everybody does the exact same. Loving that hoodie. And the Niners beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, so all is right with the world. And, guys, we'll leave you with this. Brock Purdy is freaking great. Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you